Welcome, everybody, to Review Please Anime Edition. Today, we're going to be talking about Your Lie in April. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Ell. Ell, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing fine. Super excited to talk about Your Lie in April. You liar! No,
I mean, the lie was the sweetest thing ever.
it was it was such a small lie. It's funny watching this. We'll probably talk about this later. I was wondering, I'm like, what's this lie? What is this lie? And then you find out, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a sweet lie. It's not even that big of a deal thing either.
Exactly, it's not. It's the smallest. But anyway.
Yeah. But we're gonna be talking about Your Lie in April. I'm excited about this. I started watching this anime back in what is it, January? I want to say I started watching it, and then I was like, you know what? I want to talk about this on the podcast. With that said, it took me forever to finish it. Even though I started in January, I fell off of it hard after the first 10, 11 episodes, and then I finished it earlier this week. I don't know why I pointed it's gonna matter over there, but. Yeah, so let's start off with some of our top level thoughts. Al, I'm going to let you go first. What are your top level thoughts? How did you feel about the anime? How did you did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
You can go into spoils too if you want, but
Okay.
it's up to you.
I'll start like this, just top level, and I'm pretty sure we'll go into this later. So overall starting, I'll say this: good anime, really good anime. I liked it. It's a very heartwarming. I guess I wouldn't, intense isn't the right word. I was going to say at times it can kind of seem tense with the main character that you kind of follow around, Kose. And music's amazing in this anime. So if you're into music, specifically like piano players, they play a lot of classical music in renditions of it. Beautiful, beautiful music. So going into that's really good. The characters are all, I think they're very relatable and also endearing at times. There are points in this anime, I'll say with all that said, that kind of felt like it kind of held on a little too long and maybe could have been cut shorter to make this anime is only 22 episodes, but we'll talk about this later, but it feels at times that I'm like, oof, it feels like longer than 22 episodes when you're watching it. It has a lot of very sweet moments between the characters, specifically Kose, Kaori, Tsubaki, and Watari. And overall, really good anime, I'll say. For me, there's not a lot that brings it down, but I'd say overall it's a really good anime, and I recommend it to people to watch it, especially if you really love music or just classical music at that.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. This anime is very endearing. The way it handles trauma, loss, love, all the themes that it explores. I think it does in a very elegant and beautiful way that is relatable and very to various degrees, to various levels, and all that. I loved the relationship that Kose, how do you say his name?
Yeah, Kose.
I loved his relationship with everybody. This musician who's kind of nerdy, who's friends with the big soccer star Watari.
Watari. Yeah, Watari. Yeah.
I need to just pull up the names in front of me so I can not keep making mistakes. But I loved his relationship with everybody, even his rivals that he didn't realize he had until they showed up.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, I loved the relationships. I enjoyed the anime overall. I think again, similar to how you felt, and it at times felt like it was dragging, especially in the middle episodes.
Yes,
I want to say around episode 10-ish, 11-ish to about 16, 17, where I was just like, okay, can we just move? Can we just move along, please? Because I felt like they were saying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
without little movement, with little hints at Kaori's illness and stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, it was just those middle episodes where it just dragged its feet a little bit too much. Where it was okay, please get get on with it. Like
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
it. I get it. Kosei is trying to find his music again, find something that can ground him again.
Yeah.
He has the trauma with his mom. I get it. You keep telling me this.
Exactly. Yeah. There's specifically I remember exactly I can't remember exactly which episode but there comes a point where I think in the anime he kind of comes to terms with the relationship that he had with his mother, and like the end of her life and just like the abuse and trauma that he was experiencing with her, and he kind of resolves. He comes to a resolve, and he's like, you know what, for all the trauma that I experienced with her, I still love her as a person for everything, even though she put me through. And I remember seeing that, and I'm like, oh, this anime feels like it could finish up this and just go deal with Kaori and her situation, and we'd be done. And that clears up a whole bunch of episodes. And it's like, it comes to the end, but then the anime decides, no, actually, Kosei has to go through this whole other competition, or not really a competition, but this festival, and he has to do this, do that. And I was like, oh,
he had to find the music. He had to find the music.
I'm just like...
It went full on anime. That's all I can say. It just went full on anime instead of just like going, okay, Kosei's come to terms. He's dealt with it. Now let's deal with Kaori's illness.
Yes.
No, it went, we're going to go full anime here, and we're going to kind of make this about this competition.
Exactly.
I was just like why we didn't really need that. I didn't really need the extra stuff with the other his rivals, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
They're Ime and Takashi, right?
Yeah, Takeshi. Yeah.
And Ime. We didn't really need any of that. And I liked their characters. I thought they were fine. Like they both like in their own ways admired and loved Kosei, like Takeshi, he wanted to be like him, and then Ime became a pianist because she kind of is in love with him too. Also, I find it strange. Exactly. Everybody's in love with Kosei.
That's the one thing I've noticed. I'm like, everybody just falls in love with this guy.
Yeah,
but
I was just like, this is weird, dude. I mean, I guess he's cool, but everybody loves him.
There was a point where me and my partner were watching. She decided to watch it with me. There was a point where I think someone else saw him play towards the end of the series, and he's like, at this point he's kind of just come into full form of him being a pianist and being free, so at the end of the performance, like, I can't remember, some side random anime character says, oh my god, this is so beautiful. My partner just goes, are they in love with him too? Is everybody just in love with this guy?
Wasn't it Takeshi's sister?
Yes, I think
Nagi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Nagi.
She's like going to spy on him or whatever.
Yeah. My partner's just like, everybody falls in love with this guy. What is going on?
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing to me. I mean, I guess if the power of music, you're a great pianist, people love you. I don't
exactly
know. And it's all, and they all fell in love with him in similar ways. I guess Tsubaki is the only odd one out with this one because they grew up together, and
exactly
they didn't it was a plot point that she didn't realize that she was in love with him and crap. But but like everybody just watches him play and then falls in love with him. Has that happened to you as a musician? Do people watch you play and fall in love with you?
No, they just no. Some people just ignore me, and then other people will just go, "That was cool," and then they just keep it moving. Nobody,
nobody's like, "I gotta learn your life and be."
Oh my god, exactly. I'm gonna love you so much. I'm like, no, it doesn't happen like that. But yeah,
yeah. But like again, overall though, like the anime is very endearing, very heartwarming.
Very endearing.
With even with the baggage of feeling like some of the episodes were like, again, it was just those middle episodes around 11, 12-ish to about 17, 18.
Yeah.
That felt like, okay, we're dragging this out. This is going too long. But the start and the end. Start is beautiful. Like,
yes.
I love how like they highlight Kosei's trauma. Like he's drowning, he can't hear the notes. He's in this pool of water, and there's almost this haunting, sinister feel with his mother, like in the distance watching him. She doesn't have eyes. I don't know if you picked up on this. She doesn't have eyes until Kosei kind of comes to terms with the relationship that he had with his mom and comes to accept. Like, it was she got eyes after he came to terms with that. I don't know if you picked up on that at all, but it was a fascinating thing that I noticed in the animation. I was like, huh, she has eyes. This is kind of weird because she never had eyes up to that point. Even in flashbacks with the friend that becomes Kosei's mentor. I can't remember her name.
Seto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hiroko Seto. When she
Seto.
becomes the mentor for him and stuff, even like in flashbacks that she had reflecting on his mom, she didn't have eyes. And so it was an interesting animation choice to eventually give her eyes after he came to terms with that relationship. And coming to terms with, like, even though everything that he got put through, he still loved her, he still forgave her.
Yeah.
And
I'll say this.
Go ahead.
I'll say this about when it comes to when you're initially introduced to the trauma that he's experienced with his mom, you kind of see just surface level stuff, of course, but there's some episodes where it gets rough, where you're like, oof, especially the episode. It caught me off guard when, like, you know, he was at, what am I trying to say? Oh, Kosei. So he was doing all this because his ultimate goal was for his mom to get better because she was sick and she had an illness.
She was dying and wanted to make her feel better.
Exactly. And there comes a point, and I can't remember exactly which episode, it might be around 9 or 10, where he hopes that, you know, one day she gets to see him perform and see how great he is. And one day she does show up, because Seto, you learn later on, is the one who brings her to the performance of him. And he's like, he says, I did it perfectly. And so after the performance done, everybody loves his performance. And he goes up to his mom and she's like, you know, did I do great? What did you think? And she hits him. And you're like, holy shit, like in public. And like she hits him with a cane repeatedly. And it's just like very traumatic. He's bleeding. And she's like, how dare you? It's like, you call that playing? And you're just like, what the fuck? Excuse me. Sorry for cursing. But
and like the people, like there's even voiceovers of people in the background going, oh my God, what the hell? Like, someone needs to stop this. Let's go talk to, people like ran off to get somebody and stuff. And it's like, it gets even darker with, I wish you would just die already.
Yes.
It's like, because he's only like 9 at the time, right?
Yeah,
he's like
he's 9,
9, 11, somewhere around there. He's still relatively young. I guess this is 2 years later. The show takes 2, so he's 12 probably. Because he's 14 at the start of the anime. Also, age is so weird in animes. I never believed age. These kids, let's just be real. In all anime, teenagers act like adults all the time. It's so bizarre, weird. Anyways, so I guess he was like 12. Also, the 2-year age difference, like accelerated growth. I mean, I guess that's normal, but it also felt weird. Anyways, but still, like that 12-year-old kid, however old he was, man, that's still like harsh. Like fuck, like
very, very.
Also,
harsh.
very. I don't want to say justified, but justified. Like,
I
don't know if there's a better word for that, because that was like everything he did up to that point seemed pointless in the end because she still didn't
really
outwardly
show appreciation.
She didn't show appreciation. She was just so concerned about
him making a living and having a career.
Yeah, and that's something that is revealed a couple episodes later that we get insight to why she was so harsh, because she wanted him to succeed. And this is the only way she knew how to get him to succeed. And it's wild too to think that she initially didn't even want him to be a pianist. The only reason she did was because of Seto, because Seto came in drunk playing about her husband. Like I can't even remember what the song was, but like she was playing a song horribly. I want to say it was horrible. And then he started playing and turned to her song good, and she was like, "Wait a minute, what?" You need to be playing. You need to become a pianist. How do you know how to play piano? And he was like, "Why wouldn't I know?" And it's because like he would sleep under the piano and listen to his mom play all the time.
Exactly.
And like just watch her and stuff. And
it's so crazy because like there's points in that where eventually, you know, he comes to terms and he's like, you know, I love her. She's my mom. She actually gave me this style of playing very beautifully, and she taught me all that. But there was a point where I was like, I don't know if this character is redeemable for all the stuff that she did. Just because, there was even a very sad moment where Kosei, he had a cat, but then the cat scratched up his hands one day, and of course because his mom was so strict on him for being a piano player, she just kicked the cat out, and I'm like, what the hell? It's but also you could chalk that up to her illness and her health, and she was so worried and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, this kid is going through a lot for like a 9-10-year-old or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's just wild. Also, that cat, it's the black cat that keeps
Reappearing as his mom, isn't it?
Yeah, the black cat's supposed to be like, because he makes a comment at the beginning of in like the first episode. He's like, that cat looks familiar. It reminds me of the cat that we had, but it's like the representation of his mom in cat form.
Exactly.
Which I thought was beautifully done too. I thought the cat like appearing randomly and stuff. Just a beautiful touch. And there's just some incredibly beautiful moments throughout this anime. I can't remember like which episodes they were in off the top of my head, because again, I started watching this in January and everything's becoming a blur to me. But there was the one where it was after the recital that Kaori didn't show up to because she was sick.
Yeah.
No, was it before? I can't remember. Oh, fuck. Anyways, there was one where he's like running along the train, and he's like screaming, and it was after.
Oh, yeah.
It was after maybe maybe it was the competition. He was like running, and he just started screaming, and everyone was like, "What the hell are you doing?" It was just like the train in the background with him running, and the other characters running after him and stuff. I just thought that was beautiful. There were some moments when early on when they're riding a bike together. Kaori's on the back of the bike, and they're looking at. She's like, "Look at the stars," and they start singing.
Oh yeah,
"Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," which that was very off-putting. I'm gonna be honest. The "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" thing was very off-putting to me. I was like, "This is weird," but the animation when they look up at the stars and just see the sky full of stars and everything, I thought that was beautiful. I just think there's some really beautiful like animation moments throughout this whole series that I'm just like, gosh, this is beautiful. Maybe it was worth going through all those episodes to get some of those moments, because some of those beautiful moments did happen in those episodes that I'm like, okay, I don't really know if we need these, but
true. That is true. I mean, I don't think so, but I mean, I feel like you could do without a couple of those, just because it almost feels like I'll say this for it, the animation is beautiful, but there are some episodes like we were talking about earlier where Nagi, who comes in, is actually trying to like sabotage Kose, because you find out later that she's the little sister of Takeshi, and she, because of how he looked at Kose, and then he sees him later and he's not who he thought he was and idolized him and stuff. There's a couple that
Sorry, I was gonna say the animation style of him seeing Kose as a hero.
Yeah,
I was like, man, this anime was made back in, let me look at the thing. This anime was made back in 2014. Yes, 2014. So before My Hero Academia, but I mean, it gave me major My Hero Academia vibes when he was like, my hero. I was like, oh my God, My Hero Academia. This was way before My Hero Academia, but still, I was just like, wow. Oh no, the original one was 2011 to 2015. So no, that was the manga run. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I'll say it's just I feel like some of it kind of feels fillerish when it comes to Nagi and them going to that festival and he wants to perform. Also, side note, there's an episode where Kose is basically mentoring and being a teacher to Nagi for her festival performance. Yeah, and in that festival, he kind of like he starts to outperform her, and I was like, hold on, man, what's going on here? Because you need to calm down. This is just a kid, and he's like, basically they're saying, what are you gonna do, Nagi? I'm like, who? Y'all are bad teachers. Y'all are putting this much pressure on this kid, and this kid doesn't even really want to play piano, but it's interesting. But I say all that to say that some of that could have been cut out, but anyway,
I completely agree. Just on a non sequitur here, kind of sidetrack here. There's a live action film of this. I'm reading.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I'm just reading the Wikipedia thing here. It came out. I'm kind of interested in seeing what the live action would be. I don't imagine it's going to be great, but I am interested. Anyways, go back to this though. They're just. I agree that like some of those felt very fillerish. There was also sort of in the earlier episodes where I felt like there were episodes kind of repeating itself over and over again. Yeah. Where I felt like, okay, you're just saying this, the episode before this was basically saying the same thing. It was specifically when Kosei became the accompanist, I can't say the word.
Accompanist, yeah.
Yeah,
Accompanist
to
piano?
Kaori for her performance, which she just like beat him up and dragged him.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my favorite thing about this too, is that Kaori just beat him up and was like, "Yo, you're doing this. Let's go."
Exactly, yeah.
Where he's like watching her, he can't hear the notes, and then that's the end of the episode. And the next episode, it's he can't hear the notes, and that like the first like 10, 15 minutes of it, him is just basically saying the same thing from the last episode before going,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's so beautiful. She's doing great. I gotta match
Exactly.
her," and all this other stuff. I'm like, why did we just spend basically 30 minutes across 2 episodes saying pretty much the exact same thing? It was like, is this Dragon Ball Z? What is this?
I know,
Like,
yeah. Exactly.
It was just little things like that annoyed me, and that's more nitpicky because, like, again, overall, I don't want to sound overly negative. I think this is a beautiful anime. I think we haven't dived into the ending, the lie of just I liked you. I didn't actually like Watari.
Watari, yeah.
Yeah, I actually liked you. I just didn't want to. I just didn't feel comfortable with Tsubaki asking her to introduce me to you because she was in love with you too, even though she didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And,
So of course, like you said, the line in April is that Watari is this kind of like ladies' man in high school. All the girls love him. He's
he's
superstar.
the soccer star.
He's a soccer star. He's like, just the high school jock, so to speak. And he takes a liking to Kaori.
He likes
everybody.
Let's be real.
He does. He just kind of floats around. But Kosei. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say when Sato gets introduced, he's just like, he goes cuckoo for her, and I'm like, dude, she's obviously like in her 30s, bro. Like at least in her 30s, man. You need to calm the fuck down.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just like whatever girl he sees, he likes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I was gonna say that I think Kosei at first doesn't kind of like take a liking to Kaori. It's not until later as he sees who she is that he takes a liking to me. I wanted to ask your opinion about this because I know how I feel about this. How did you feel about the way that the anime handled the characters Kosei, Kaori, and Tsubaki, kind of like that whole way of like, what am I trying to say? Of how like Tsubaki liked Kosei, she realizes that she actually likes him. Same thing with Kaori and Kosei liking Kaori. Because there's a part of me that kind of feels like, I don't want to say that it came out of nowhere, but Tsubaki's whole, like, she takes a liking to Kosei, and then kind of like how she deals with, even though she realizes that Kosei doesn't like her, that he likes Kaori. I kind of didn't like it as much, personally.
Wait, what do you mean? Like, you didn't like her ending up liking him? Like,
yeah,
Tsubaki liking him?
I think maybe, and it might not be like I might not explain this the best, but it kind of feels like in this anime, spoiler alert, Kaori's illness just takes the best of her and she ends up passing away, right?
Yeah.
And like Kosei, he loves Kaori, but they can't be together because of the illness. Tsubaki loves Kosei. Everybody is unhappy in this at the end of this anime. It feels like they're happy that well, she taught me this, but I'm talking about like relationship wise and love wise. Because go ahead.
I feel like because like one of the last moments of the anime is Tsubaki going, "You're stuck with me for the rest of your life," and because like she comes again. Everybody beats the shit out of Kosei. Like, why does everybody hit him? Like, Jesus, he got abused. Like, everybody just beats him up and he just takes it anyways. But that's what happens with Tsubaki. Tsubaki is like, I need to go. They ask their friend to go check up on Kosei to make sure he's okay. And then the friend's like, no, you need to go do this. Like, why are you passing this off? So that character always felt weird to me, that friend character. She just pops up randomly. She pops up randomly. And every time I see her, I'm like, I forgot she existed. I know that's weird. I mean, she like towards the end of the anime, she's more consistently there. But like when she first gets there, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a character, right? She's on the team or something. Sorry, my dogs are barking.
You good?
She's on Tsubaki's baseball team, right?
Anyways,
but I don't know. Like the ending, I read it as because like in the letter that Kaori writes,
Yeah.
she mentions that Kosei doesn't realize that Tsubaki has feelings for him.
Yeah.
And I think up to that point, Kosei didn't realize either. I don't think Kosei ever. It's one of those things where they grew up together, they were childhood friends,
exactly.
and you don't realize that the relationship has changed. It was evident. I honestly felt like Tsubaki realized how like her feelings to him like from the very first episode. I was picking up on that fairly early. So I think like the last moment where they're basically just staring at each other and he kind of smiles, I'm just like, oh, this is where their relationship begins.
It's
that's how I was reading that. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I almost, maybe what it is like, I feel like that relationship, if it like, even though it ends there and we don't find out whether or not, I guess we're assuming that they do get together and become, partners and stuff.
The only thing that we know is that he keeps the picture framed. He kept the
exactly.
Picture. So that's all we know.
But I guess my thing, it just feels weird because I feel like had Kaori, the only reason that they couldn't be together was because Kaori had the illness. But had that illness not been there, Kaori probably would have been with Kosei. And Tsubaki...
I don't think so either, because like even in the letter she mentions like she couldn't say anything because she didn't want to hurt Tsubaki. She didn't want to hurt Ritari. So I don't know. Like in the letter she's confessing that she loves him, and that's something that is the lie. Like
exactly.
Like she's been lying to him this whole time that she loves him, but she was always scared to tell him because of Tsubaki, because of Ritari. She didn't want to
mess that up.
The whole group dynamic. That's at least that's how I read it. Then how I interpreted it. I thought like it was one of those things like, you're keeping it all in because you don't want to mess anything up. She mentions like I would have asked Tsubaki, but I didn't want to put her through the pain of potentially seeing the person that she's in love with somebody else, and maybe it is all because Kay already knew that she was sick and all that, and that maybe that's part of it. But I also think too, like comes down to like trying to be a good friend in a way. I don't know. That's how I was interpreting it. I mean, I guess we have different outlooks on it.
I think maybe it just seems for me, because I can definitely understand that. It just seems weird because isn't there also, if I remember correctly, towards the end of the episode, a point where Tsubaki, I think Kaori that she's about to pass away or something, and then it's raining, and so they're standing next to each other. They're standing next to each other, Tsubaki and Kosei, and she says, "Well, I guess you have no choice but to love me." And she says something like that, and then she hits him, and then she just takes off running because she tells him, "You like Kaori," and he goes, "Yeah, you're right." And basically, that's her kind of like, "Oh, he doesn't like me; he likes Kaori."
Yeah,
and I think she says something to the effect of, she feels guilty because she says, "A part of me I can't remember. I might be misremembering this, where she goes, well, I kind of feel a little guilty because she's kind of happy that Kaori, might not be saying this right, but she's kind of, the illness will eventually take Kaori, and she kind of thinks that or something. It's something to that effect. Not blatantly like, at least I just have to wait a little bit, but
at least she's gonna die the fucking
but
I mean, I think Tsubaki, that was a vulnerable moment for Tsubaki, and then she also felt bad about thinking that afterwards too.
No, exactly.
She immediately felt bad. She's like, "Shit, I'm a crappy friend." So
very true.
But it's an interesting dynamic for sure. It is, and to an extent, love triangles are always weird. I guess it's more like a square if you really want to include Watari. He doesn't really matter at the grand scheme of things. But in terms of like the dynamic, like this relationship triangle, there was no way. Like at the end of the day, Watari got these short end of the stick. Nobody loved him.
Exactly. Exactly. He was just doing his own thing.
Yeah. But
because what it felt like with Kaori, Tsubaki, and Kosei is that Kosei liked Kaori, Tsubaki liked Kosei, Kaori liked Kosei, but of course wouldn't say anything because of Tsubaki. So it was just like nobody would say that they liked each other because of fear
I'm gonna
of
tell you
hurting
right,
someone.
I'm going to tell you right now that feels like fucking high school.
Exactly.
It
And I was
feels
just
like high school. That it feels like high school. Like, you know,
Very true.
this person likes this person, but this person likes this person. This person likes this other person. It's like, okay, y'all, you're kids. We get it. You're young. Your hormones are going crazy. One of you is about to die. You know, normal high school things.
It's so funny, but it was just interesting because, like, I guess maybe at the end of it, because, you know, she says, you know, I'm going to stick by you. I'm going to be like your guardian angel. Mm-hmm. And a part of me was like, well, I wonder, well, I guess I don't, we'll never know because there's no more episodes. It just ends here of like, a part of me wants to be like, Tsubaki, like, stand up for yourself and just, you know, you want it to be mutual, so to speak, but maybe, I don't know.
I know. I still feel like at the end, I feel like the smile at the end at least indicates that Kosei is going to kind of reciprocate the feelings. Yeah. Probably, at least that's how maybe I'm just too hopeful. Because honestly, I wanted Tsubaki and Kosei to be together to begin with from the beginning. I always thought the relationship was stronger than all the other relationships.
Kaori,
yeah.
It's very interesting how it plays out, but
because let's be real, Kaori almost felt stalkerish.
She did when she kind of explained everything in that letter as to like why she was doing everything.
Yeah.
When you break it down, you know, hey, rest in peace, you know, Kaori, but she was basically stalking him to get close to him. Yeah. That's what it was. And
all because she saw him play. She saw him again. This goes back to people just watch Kosei and they fall in love with him. Why?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so crazy. So the story is about a stalker who got close and then fell in love, and then Kosei kind of falls in love, but then they ultimately can't be together. And so.
I don't think Kaori is actually any malicious intent at all.
Of course, yeah.
It's just funny when you break it down and you think about it. It's like, man, that's really fucked up. If they were adults, that would be fucked up. I guess since it's teenagers, they're okay. Oh, I guess it started when she was a child, so yeah. I don't know. It's just so weird and complicated. But
that's so funny.
But overall, how did you feel about the letter? Were you like, oh man, because like that hit me in the feels. Like I was like, damn, this is deep. Like, fuck. Yeah. Like that was my reaction. Like I just was like, man, damn. I didn't cry, but I could have easily seen myself crying if I allowed myself not to be a robot.
No, exactly. The letter was very like heart-wrenching, and it's like it makes me think of that phrase of like maybe in another life, you know, type of thing. And that's what it felt like of like what would have happened if this wouldn't have happened, if that illness hadn't taken course. And so, but it was very heart-wrenching and very like, oof, because Kaori in this whole anime in the beginning, she's very like bright, very outspoken, very extroverted, whereas Kosei is very introverted, and he's like, I'm keeping to myself. I just play the piano. And she kind of brings him out and makes him like blossom a little bit. And so it's I'm not gonna lie, because when she first, you kind of are hinted at throughout the anime that she has an illness. If you pay attention. But as she gets more and more hospitalized, it's like, oof, it's heart-wrenching because you see this character that was very bright and very just like hopeful and like always just like speaking very positively, slowly start to kind of like break down and wither away, kind of like a flower. And it's rough, especially also to her parents too. Seeing them have to deal with that and like seeing how much it affects them and like they seem like very happy people. Ooh, it like it tugs at your heartstrings. You're like, oh my God, like you wish that this wouldn't happen to the character.
Yeah. Speaking of Kaori's parents, the one episode, this was within the like episodes 12, 17, 18-ish realm. The episode where Kosei meets the parents, I actually thought was probably one of the better elements of that middle part when they met. Yeah. And just how like they just showered him with food and stuff. And initially the dad was like, "Who are you? What are you doing with my daughter?" "Oh, you're Kosei. Hi, how's it going?" I was like, "Yep, that feels
They were in love with Kosei too. They were.
Yeah, they fell in love. It was like, yeah, they apparently. I like the comment. They were like, oh yeah, they used to watch you all the time. I'm like, man, what the fuck is this world? Like, is this a world that I don't understand? I mean, obviously I don't, but like,
Yeah,
is this
like,
common
everybody
for
just
like
knows this kid.
classical theater, classical music people
Exactly.
that just like
They just
wow,
have
it's
like
wild.
certain pianists that are like prodigies, and they're like, oh my god,
We love them.
crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it was it's interesting. But yeah, I loved her parents, and like I said, to see Kaori kind of like just eventually come to a point where she can't even walk and go through the surgery. I think it was beautiful at the end in that last episode where she basically appears to him in that world that he plays in, and she's like playing with him one last time in his head. And he doesn't want to let her go, but he realizes that he has to. And that was rough. I was like, oh god. And you can even see it in like they do it in the anime where the people are just like, oh my god, they can feel the emotion coming from the playing,
Yeah.
And so,
The one of the fun aspects and like they never say this out loud, but they talk about it a lot. It's a common theme is like I can see the colors, they can see the notes, and I from interviews and stuff that I've seen of musicians, there are musicians that view music that way that I always found interesting. I don't know if you know anybody that's like that, where they can like when they're playing, they see different colors for like the tones and stuff that they're doing, the chords that they're playing and stuff. I don't know if you've ever experienced that yourself or know anybody that has, but I found that interesting that this was a part of the plot for Kosei in particular, where he sees colors when he's playing, and then like when he no longer can hear the notes, the world is just a monochrome sort of color. He's in this drab world, drowning in it, and no longer sees the color. And I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Do you know what I'm talking about with like the color spectrum when you're playing music?
No, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. There are certain times where they say, like musicians, like sometimes you kind of are just playing. You're playing or creating something like from experience. That's where like that's that old saying that a lot of music that touches a lot of people, they can relate to it because of experiences and stuff like that. Or certain singers, when they sing, you can hear the pain in their voice, and it's like, oof. Because I've experienced that a lot listening to certain like other producers that I idolized growing up, and I'm like, whoa, like where's this coming from? This is and trying to learn backstories as to what certain songs or maybe instrumentals were inspired from, and so because there are certain music just gravitates to certain people sometimes, and like you can definitely, with whoever played the music for this anime, there were like you can feel it sometimes when like hear it, and you can kind of almost feel it like oof, because the anime characters will, like some of the side characters will comment like, oh, so sorrowful, so there's so much emotion in here, and then if you just listen to how they're playing, you can kind of like, oh, that's they're basically saying whatever he's playing. And so to answer your question, yes, I've experienced that myself, and I've had certain musicians where I've seen them play, and I'm like, oh, they're playing, where are they pulling that from, versus just technically playing it,
Yeah. And then I just want to, again, I said this with Bocchi the Rock, the piano keys when he's playing, top notch. Like the animation when they with the close up with the piano pressing, and like just the movement of the piano and the placement of the hands and even the focus on the pedals and everything too. It's like, perfect. Like it was another anime that did its research and tried to match it, as best they could.
Exactly.
So I was like, this is phenomenal. I can't really speak on the violin because we didn't really ever get close-ups too much of the violin when Kaori is playing and stuff, but the piano aspect though, I was like, this is fantastic. Every character, like when they were showing him, even when he was like playing it bad in his like world, like you hear him just hammering the
muffled piano keys.
I'm just like, god damn, this sounds fucking amazing. Like the sound design is phenomenal. Like in those moments, I was like, gosh, this is great. So like I think everything all around this anime is just fantastic. It's beautiful. We repeated this multiple times, but like the middle parts just felt like it dragged on too long, felt fillery. I agree. But like overall, this was a top-notch anime, and I can see why this has a huge fan base. Like I didn't know
Exactly, yeah.
anything about it until I was watching another anime and saw people commenting, "Oh man, if you like this, if you think this is gonna make you cry, you should go watch Your Lie in April." And I was like, you know what? I'm in for a good cry. Let's see. So I
Yeah.
was like, the fan base, like I'm 100% on board. Like I could easily recommend this for folks.
Yes.
With the
Definitely.
caveat of prepare yourself that it might get a little
You're gonna shed a couple
well,
tears.
you might shed a couple tears, and the middle part might drag out for you.
Yes.
Maybe it won't.
Maybe you'll enjoy it more than I enjoyed it, but you
Yeah.
know, it's not just like bad. I'm not saying that it's bad outright. It
Yeah.
just feels like a filler sometimes with
Yeah.
certain parts.
I want to say this doesn't feel like an anime you should binge, if that makes sense.
I
feel like-
agree 100%.
I feel like if like I watched an episode, like one episode a night or one episode a week or something like that, I would probably enjoy it more, and I wouldn't feel like those middle episodes were filler. But like
Yeah.
binge watching this is highlighted. That does that make sense? Like
No, definitely. I'll say this because that's exactly how I felt once I got done with it. Because towards the end, I was kind of binge watching it, watching like 4 to 5 episodes, and at the end, I remember telling my partner exactly. I was like, this makes me like it gives me this empty feeling to like binge watch it. Maybe I would have enjoyed it more had I watched maybe only 1 episode a day or 1 episode a week. And so, I agree with you.
Yeah, because that was something I felt, because like again I took a big break. I started watching it in January, and I want to say I got to like episode 12, 13, where that's when I was like, man, these episodes are dragging out for me. I'm gonna take a break, and then I didn't start until about 2 weeks ago, and then I was like, oh man, these are dragging out for me still. Like watching them back to back to back to back. I was just like, but then it got to the end. It got to like the last couple episodes when she's in the hospital and he's like these playing and stuff, and just like, okay, this is perfect. But like, it was just something I felt like one of the things I've been thinking about, like, what if I had taken my time rather than trying to force myself to binge watch all of it for an arbitrary like deadline, you know? Because it definitely doesn't feel like it's an anime that should be binge watched, because I feel like almost like it is like there's a lot of reflectiveness to it, if this makes sense.
Exactly.
Like where it feels like they're touching on a lot of like big themes of the trauma, of love, of loss, of what it means to find yourself through music and all this other stuff. And like, so I feel like giving yourself a breath to go, okay, I've enjoyed this episode. I'm going to think about this. I'm going to let it sit with me for a while, and then I'll go to the next one. Rather than going, I'm going to watch, and then feel empty inside at the end because it's like, what's going on?
Like, oof. Yeah.
So, but
Definitely.
overall, fantastic anime. Now, what are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say it's a great anime. It's easy to take in. If you definitely enjoy piano playing, even if you're not like the biggest fan of like classical music, this is still like great music that's played throughout the anime, and it almost makes me want to go listen to classical music, because I was like, man, this is so beautiful. Whoever played this, it's funny. It does. I'll say this, that the anime does a great job of having moments where it kind of feels like there's tension, and it breaks it with comedic relief, with someone getting kicked or somebody getting scared or something like that. And so it has a good pacing wise when it comes to like the tension that builds up to then kind of like just doing some comedic relief to lighten it up a little bit. Other than that, I think, like I said, beautifully animated, great sound design. Middle's not so bad, but still.
Yeah. All right. So I'm about to throw you through a loop because I didn't tell you I was going to do this.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
We've watched 3 animes now. We've watched Bocchi the Rock, Spy
Bocchi,
Family, and now
Spy
Your
Family.
Lie in April.
Yeah.
And going forward,
Uh-huh.
after we finish each episode, we're gonna rank them. We're gonna rank them, and I'm gonna keep track of it. So let me open my Google Doc real quick.
Okay.
We'll have separate lists, so we'll do my list and we'll do your list, but I'll keep track for both of us.
Okay.
And so, Ell,
Uh-huh.
where would you rank these? Since there's 3 animes, 1, 2, 3. Number 1 being your favorite, 2 being, I think so far all 3 animes have been great.
Yeah.
I think they've all been great. So how would you rank them, Ell? Where would you put stuff?
I think at the top I put Spy X Family. I think that's so cool. Great animation, great music, great characters. Then below, I would actually put Bocchi the Rock below, and then followed by Your Lie in April.
Nice.
Just because I think Bocchi is, I don't want to say cooler, but I like the character a little bit more.
I just did something stupid. I put Spy X Family, Bocchi the Rock, Your Lie the Rock.
Your Lie the Rock.
sorry
That's
for
hilarious.
interrupting.
No,
you.
you're good. But no, I think Bocchi. I like Bocchi's character a little bit more than I do with like Kosei and Kaori.
No.
And so, but nothing against them. And so, but I think so far, Spy X, Bocchi, and then Your Lie in April.
Nice. Mine is number 1, Bocchi the Rock. I love Bocchi the Rock. I still my favorite anime of last year. I just absolutely adore it. I want more of it so bad. Yeah. And then number 2, Your Lie in April. Your Lie in April. Like Spy Family, number 3 for me. I like Spy Family, don't get me wrong. The more I think about Spy Family, the lower it gets on just my list of animes I enjoy. Like,
gotcha.
I don't see it ever being in my top 10 favorite animes of all time or anything like that. I don't necessarily see Your Lie in April being in my top 10 either, but I think Your Lie in April has a very powerful message to it. It has a powerful ending. My dogs are going crazy because there was a knock on the door. I'm assuming there's a delivery. I apologize, everybody. But Spy Family just keeps getting lower and lower for me, just because I like it, I enjoy it, and it's like a summer blockbuster action movie to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
basically.
It's just stupid, dumb fun, and that's not really what I want.
I gotcha.
Out of animes, like I enjoy it because obviously I watch My Hero Academia, which is stupid, dumb fun. Spy Family, stupid, dumb fun, all of that. So I crave that in certain instances, but when the animes that stick with me are the ones like Bocchi the Rock and Your Lie in April, where there is an overall a very deep meaning and theme to them, if you know what I mean.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There's not necessarily one for Spy Family. It just a cool action stuff, cool characters, but I want something a little bit more. You know what I mean? So
no, I gotcha. Makes sense.
So yeah. Elle, tell us what we're going to be talking about for April, since we didn't do Your Lie in April in April.
We didn't do Your Lie in April. No, so the next anime that we'll be reviewing is actually a favorite of mine. It's season 1 of One Punch Man. Oh, so great. Great.
I was telling you this the other day. I for the longest time, I've been convinced that I've never watched One Punch Man. Lo and behold, when I go to watch it on Netflix, it shows that I had watched it in the past.
That's
I was
hilarious.
I don't have any recollection of watching this anime. And I started the first episode and I was like, I still don't remember watching this. But apparently I did, because my Netflix account shows that I watched the entire season. So
that's hilarious.
I apparently watched it at some point, and I just don't remember. So
funny.
I guess it was probably at some point during COVID, when we couldn't go anywhere. I'm assuming it was probably sometime during then. And the only thing I can think of is I turned it on and fell asleep, and then I woke up and watched the entire
series.
Yeah, it was because I don't remember anything about it. So
that's so funny.
But apparently, according to Netflix, I started it and I finished it because everything was full. It was watched, and all that crap. Alistair, stop.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah. Anyways, thank you all so much for joining us for Review Please. I was going to say Respawn Please podcast. Review Please Anime Edition. We'll be back in April to talk about One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.